So, got this as a gift. It's Wendy's drink. Didn't know it'd separate after a bit. I just can't seem to throw it away, but I can't seem to drink it either. Ugh, it just tastes so sugary. Why is it so sugary? Oh my goodness, that's disgusting. Why can't I throw it away though? I don't know. Probably because it was a gift. Okay, Math Ninja. Nope, next one. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're on Unit 4. Lots of factoring going on here. Lots of factoring. So we still got good review to get you ready for the ACTs there. Remember PEMDAS. Remember keep, change, flip. Solve for y. So don't forget to multiply first. Oh, first, don't forget to pause me and try it on your own first. Only way you're going to learn. So if we go ahead and multiply by 2 over to the other side, and we're trying to solve for y, and then just minus x. Way-oh, minus x to this side, there we go. That's what y equals. Y equals 2a minus x. Way-oh. Okay, draw a rough graph. Do you remember how to do these? Do you remember how to do these? So remember the hint here on this one is you want to pull out a 2x first, and that 2x is going to be one of the, there's going to be more, that's going to be, that's one of the factors, and then don't forget you have to set it equal to 0, and so that means that one of our factors, one of our x-intercepts is going to be at 0. And then you find the rest. You find the rest, right? It's going to be like x squared minus something, something, something. Hey, this is already factored for us. Remember, even powers bounce, odd powers cross through. So ignore the 2 for now. It's just going to be the negative that we're going to focus on. X squared, x to the third power. So x squared, it's negative. X squared, x to the third power. So that's 5, 6, 7. So that's going to be a negative x to the 7th power, or negative x to the odd power. And so that means our end behavior, don't forget to do these. So we're going to start off high and finish off low, because it's negative and odd. So then we have, let's see here. So we have x equals a negative 4. Try it on your own first. Why is my eraser broken? There we go. Okay, so we get a negative 4, and we're going to go ahead and B for bounce. X equals 3 is also B for bounce. And x equals negative 1 is going to be odd. And what does odd mean? So odd means cross through. There we go. So we're going to start off high until we get to negative 4. Then we're going to bounce off of it. Bong. Then in negative 1, we're going to cross through. And then x equals 3, we're going to bounce. Boop. Nice. Okay, there we go. So we used our end behavior, which was negative and odd, which means up and down. And then we went in and graphed it. Wee-oh. So factor completely. If you can't tell, 4.1 is all about the factoring. And so we can pull out a GCF first. That always helps. But sometimes we can do some crazy factoring. So number 7, make sure we're still recording. You know we are. Okay. So that can factor. What does x to the 4th power factor into? Just think of it that way. Something times something is x to the 4th. It's even. So that's right. It's an x squared and an x squared. What are factors of 80 that reach 18 when you add them together? Pause me and try it on your own. So that's going to be what? That's going to be a 10 and an 8. Way-oh. So 8x squared plus 10x squared is 18x squared. So we got that one right. And 8 times 10 is 80. Cool. Okay, so then, pull out the GCF member. So a 6 and a 54, if you pull that out, you're left with x squared minus 9. Can we factor more? Is it a difference of squares? You know it is. So that's going to factor into x minus 3 and x plus 3. Way-o. Do you remember how to factor? Remember how to factor. Okay, so number 11 is something new, right? So this is called a sum of cubes. So it's very, what would you say, very formula-based, right? Very formula-based factoring. Very formula-based. So it's going to be a plus b times a squared. This is the part, see if I can remember it. So a squared, let's see. So I think this is the part where you switch the sign. So that's minus ab plus b squared, right? Plus b squared. Cool. And so if you're not sure, I could even during this video multiply that out to show you where that came from, right? So let's go ahead and multiply that out and show you where it came from. So basically the reason why we get that formula is when you multiply it out, that's a cubed. A times negative ab is negative a squared b. A times b squared is a positive ab squared. And then b times a squared is a positive a squared b. B times negative ab is a negative a b squared. And then last but not least, b times b squared is b to the third power. So then what cancels out? Well, we have a positive a squared b with a negative a squared b. We have a positive ab squared with a negative ab squared. And so we're just left with a cubed plus b cubed. Woo! So that is definitely the formula to help us factor it. You might have to factor more with a quadratic formula as well, though. Ugh. Okay, let's see here. Let's go ahead and factor that. It looks like we're just doing basic factoring right now. So this factors into x, x, and x. 125 factors into 25 times 5, which does factor into 5 times 5 times 5. Whoa, we have triplets! So we have triplet factoring, as you see there. And so that means we can use that in our formula, because it's formula-based sum of cubes factoring. So basically our a is going to equal x, and our b is going to equal 5. So wherever you see a b, you're just going to plug it in there, and there, and there. And wherever you see an a, you're going to plug in an x. So plug in an x. Let's do a different color for that. So wherever you see an a, you're going to plug in an x right there, plug in an x there, and plug in an x there. And then that'll be our answer. That'll be our answer. So let's go ahead and plug those in now. Let's go ahead and plug those in. Okay, so formula-based factoring. Parentheses, a is x, b is 5. A squared is x squared minus a, which is x, times b, which is 5, plus b squared. So then our final answer is x plus 5 times x squared minus 5x plus 5 times 5 is 25. I just switched the order on those, basically. Just switch the order. So minus x5 is minus 5x. Way-o. And that is our factored answer. Way-o. It's our factored answer. Could you use the quadratic formula if we didn't just ask you to factor it, but ask for the zeros? We could. A would be 1, B would be negative 5, C would be 25. But this just says factoring. This just says factoring, so we're done. This just says factoring, so we're done. But you could use a quadratic formula if you had to. You just need to make a point of that. You'll see that again in the future. Okay, pause me. Try the next one on your own. So I'm thinking, what are factors of 3 and x squared? That's a 3x and an x. Good. So then what are factors of 8? Maybe 2 times 4? So maybe 2 times 4. So if we put a 2 here and a 4 here, let's see, what do we get? We get 3 times 4 is a 12x. And then 2 times x is 2x. Whoa, I guessed it right the first time. That was so lucky. Because a negative 12, so a negative 12 with a positive 2 is going to equal negative 10x. We did it. Way-o. That was lucky. Nice. We might have had to switch the 2 and the 4 around to get it to work. If I hadn't, I guess, so lucky that first time. All right, so now solve each following using factor by grouping. So number 15 is going to be called factor by grouping. Factor by grouping. So basically you're going to split it down the middle and you're going to pull out the GCF. You're going to pull out the GCF. On both sides, there'll be different GCFs. So you're going to pull those out, right? Pull out the GCF. Okay, so we have x cubed and x squared. So what do they have in common? An x squared. They have an x squared in common. So I'll pull out that x squared. So what are we left with? Well, x cubed take away x squared is just x. Plus x squared's cancels, just a 3. So we want the other side to also be x plus 3, then we factored it right. But the problem is they're negatives. So you might have to choose a negative GCF to pull out so that we can have a positive when we factor it. So what do 4 and 12 have in common? They both are divisible by 4. But we want it to be negative. We want it to be negative. So we're going to go ahead and pull out there. A negative 4 is what we're going to pull out. So pull out a negative 4. We're left with those cancel. So x minus. And 12 divided by 4 is 3. Wait a sec. You forgot to pull out the negative. Oh yeah, pull out the negative. Pull out the negative. Okay, so that's going to be a positive 3. Yeah, we got it. So x plus 3 and x plus 3 is what would they have in common? So that's our first factor. And you can even technically pull that out, GCF. So we're going to go ahead and pull out an x plus 3. And so when we pull out that x plus 3 on both of these here, pull out that x plus 3, so those go away and we put it right there. So then what do we have left? Well, we have an x squared and we have a minus 4, so we bring that down. X squared minus 4. Ooh, is that it? We got our answer. Factored it. Wait a second, that's an x squared minus 4. Do you recognize that? Yep, that's also a difference of squares. So we're going to go and factor that more. So that factors into x and x. And then factors of 4 are 2 and 2. Remember, the middle term, there's no middle term, so what do the signs have to be so they cancel out? Negative and a positive. We got that, negative and a positive. Ooh, so it wants us to solve. Oh my. So we're going to have to set each of those equal to 0 because it says now not just factor, it says to solve. So that means we have to take each of these factors and set them equal to 0. Don't forget to do that part. It just means change the sign is what x equals. So x is going to equal a negative 3. We're going to add 2 to both sides. So x equals a positive 2. And x equals a negative 2. Way-o. Way-o. So that one looks like a difference, but you can actually pull out a 6x. Pull out the what? What's that called again? GC what? Greatest common factor, GCF. So we pull out a GCF, so those cancel. There's 3 x's on top. So one of them is going to cancel in the bottom, leaving us with an x squared minus 6x divided by 6x is just, they don't just go away. Not, so does not become 0. So what is 6 divided by 6? Remember, it's a 1. So this actually becomes a 1. Right? Does not become a 0, it becomes a 1. And that can factor more. So that can factor, it's the difference of squares again. So that can factor into 1 and 1. And remember, plus and minus. So set each of those equal to 0. So we divide by 6. Pause me, try it on your own. Minus 1 to the other side, so we get equals -1. And there's our 3 answers. Way-o! There's our 3 answers. Beautiful. Okay, so find the zeros of each of the following. Hint, let f of x equal 0. Factor completely or use the quadratic formula. Whoa! So it says let f of x equal 0, so we're basically just setting it equal to 0. So we're going to try factor by grouping on this one. Pause me, you try it on your own. Do you remember how to do factor by grouping? Split it in 2. Pull out the GCF. Give it a try, give it a try. Pull out the GCF. What do they have in common? Pause me. Stop watching. You pause me. You behind the screen, you pause me. You're only going to learn this if you try on your own. So pause me there. Pull out an x squared. Pause me. So we're left with an x minus a 1. X squared divided by x squared is just a 1. So is this a positive and a negative? Positive and a negative. Yeah, we're good. Positive. Okay, so we can just pull out, don't have to pull out a -9, just a +9 on this one. So we're going to go ahead now and pull out a erase, 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 erase. Yeah, we're going to pull out a +9 is what we're going to do now. So 9 divided by 9, we're left with x minus 9 divided by 9 is 1. Way-o. Okay, so then we have an x minus 1 is one of our factors, and then whatever's left is the other factor. But I think it wants us to solve it. Wants us to solve it. So set each one equal to 0. This, I don't know. This other one looks kind of strange. So we get x equals 1. So we take x squared plus 9. We set that equal to 0. How do we do that? Well, we're going to minus 9 to both sides. Here it is. So we have to, how do we undo that power of 2 now? How do we undo that power of 2? Bye-bye 2. We square rooted it. If you do it to one side, you have to do the other side. And you have to plus or minus. So we get x is equal to plus or minus the square root of 9. Do you remember what the square root of -9 is? So the negative becomes an I, and the square root of 9 becomes a 3. So then we get x equals, plus or minus 3i. So we get a positive 3i, and we get a negative 3i. And so those are the rest of our answers. Those are our answers. All right, so thanks for watching. I'm going to make another video, just a second one, and we'll be good to go. Thanks for watching. Try them on your own before you watch. Try them on your own. Here we go. See you in a second.